It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder. It's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Topic Thunder, your favorite internet saloon, where we pour conversation into your empty glass and we toast the conversation all night long. My name's Brooks. That's Ben. You're watching us. Well, take your pick. I guess YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. We stream everywhere, and of course, the Instagram, which we post odd things. It's a little art nouveau, I guess. The Thunder Topic Thunder podcast on your Instagram.
Or Thunder Topic, either one.
Figure it out. Cheers, Courtney. Hi, welcome everybody. As far as I know, one of the only interactive podcasts out there that, like, sure, everybody's got a comments page, but are they paying attention to? Is Joe Rogan paying attention and answering questions from his comments page?
Nope.
Yeah. No. So we bring that to you.
Yes, and in fact, I like to throw in here too, if you are watching live, hit the share button on whatever way you're watching it, and invite people to join the conversation with us tonight. So there you go. Tonight, Ryan Hansen is sponsored by Blue Dream. Good for him. That's good stuff right there.
I'm glad you brought that up with the sharing bit too. One of the cool things about the software that we famously switched to a couple months back now is that we get these cool reports, like these metrics, and it's almost weekly that we get 1 to 2 more average viewers that stick around, and it's neat. So it's growing. But yeah, if you could share and spread the word about the fun that we have here and the conversation that we have here, that'd be pretty cool of you. All of you. Hi, folks. If you're new to the saloon, well, belly on up to the bar. What we like to do before we start anything is have ourselves a drink. So, folks, what we have here is from Old Nation Brewery Company. This is their M43 New England India Pale Ale, sure to of course, wet the taste buds of a certain live-in girlfriend named Gigi. This is going to be one of those beers that she doesn't like. It's one of those like hard beers. I'm sure of it. Although I don't know. I'm prognosticating. I don't want to be any biased against this beer.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you the full screen to give the taste test.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The M43 from Old Nation Brewing Company. Okay, so it's kind of light. It doesn't like hang on the palate very long like some of the other like pale ales might. It's a little more effervescent, dry, crisp finish on the end here. Yeah, this is what we do here. It is kind of not your traditional IPA, I'll tell you that. It does have a little more of a have you ever had like a Fin du Monde or like a Delirium Tremens?
No. If it's been anything more than a PBR, I've likely not had it. Miller
Okay.
Lite.
All right. Yeah. So there's those are high powered beers, but it's almost like champagne and like a beer together. Maybe we'll do one. Maybe we'll try one on the show here
Sounds
together.
very odd. Well, I don't know that I want champagne and beer. That sounds like coffee and beer.
Well, I looked at a stout today. So we might be doing stouts for the winter season.
Uh-oh.
Winter is coming. And I've never
It's coming.
I've never seen a second of that show, but I know that one.
Yes.
So cheers to everybody.
Wait a minute. Wait up. Hold the fuck on.
Yep.
Are you telling me right now that you have never seen Game of Thrones?
No, I have not seen a single. Well, I've probably seen clips or like, not seen Game of Thrones. Nope, I refuse.
Refuse?
I refuse.
Why? I need
It
to
can't
know this.
possibly
halt
be
the show right now.
It can't possibly be as good as people say. Number one. Number two. I hold a burning deep grudge. The 13-year-old little Mike Brooks playing Dungeons and Dragons with his friends in the basement while other kids were sneaking around in cornfields, drinking beers and making out cool chicks, and sit by candlelight because we wanted to make it cool, and like the dungeon master had shroud on. I mean, yeah, we were just playing board games and video games, but made fun of for it and put out on the fringe of things for. So here comes some nice CGI and some production and what appears to be a really good story about all these cool things that I got stuffed in a locker for. And now everybody loves it. Same thing with Star Wars. Fuck this new generation of Star Wars fans. You weren't there. You weren't there waiting for Return of the Jedi, and then you get Ewoks. You didn't know. Enjoy the Gungans. Yeah. Enjoy your Jar Jar Binks, because that's what we got. God. Now you know.
Yeah. Oh my God. We got Brooks on a rant. But seriously, Brooks, like, you have to get over that and watch that show. It is so good. You can't overstate how good it is. I'm telling you, you would love it. You would love it. I know for a fact you would love that show, but I don't want to park here too long, but you got to watch that goddamn show.
So the way I understand it, and pardon my my age here, I'm a level 45 podcaster right now. It seems to me it's a combination of Conan the Barbarian and like Falcon Crest, where there's these warring families.
I don't know either one of those very well. I'll be honest with you. And I went into it thinking I'm not gonna like this show. It just did. I don't usually watch those types of shows, anything like that. I fell in love with it very quickly. And for me, what set it apart was the level of violence is incredible. It is an incredible level of violence that like shocks you. Like a show is like, wow, you're like, wow, they're going there. They're going to give me that much violence. It's so good. It's more like Dynasty meets Lord of the Rings. I think that's probably a better way to put it. There's like some family dynamics. Oh God. All right. I don't want to sit on this too long.
Oh, off to the headlines we go. Speaking of sitting on things, you're a fan of revealing the truth. We all know that you're a truth warrior, and we try to do our best here on the show to bring everybody things as they come up. If you remember a few years back, the Panama Papers.
Yep.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that broke today. And while we were in the green room here, getting ready for the show, I was able to read up a little more on this breaking news that this just dropped. The Pandora reports. Another almost 3 terabytes worth of documents and information about how the most rich and powerful hide their money in all of the shell companies and the tax scheme that we all know exists, but nobody really seems to have the huevos to do anything about.
Interesting. So more bullshit revealed. So get into this. I'm interested.
So the AP story is nice, and it will it just kind of drags you into some individual scenarios specifically, and almost the stories right now, my general first take on them, they seem almost like hit pieces because they specifically mention, like, one of these stories or headlines like mentions associates of Vladimir Putin, but nobody follows up there on any of this stuff. What they really seem to be going after is Jordan's King Abdullah, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, current Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babis, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, Ecuador's President Guillermo Lasso, and associates of both Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan and Russian President Vladimir Putin. And then that's the last mention of Vladimir Putin that I can get in these initial stories, right? So it's another one of those reveals. Same group, and I can't find their name right now, but it's some international coalition of journalists, over 38 jurisdictions from around the world, leaked from 14 different service providers. Some of the documents going all the way back to the 1970s, but most of the files are from 1996 to 2020. The BBC story gets a little more interesting, but they're a little more hooked in on what their Tony Blair, their former prime minister, was doing. And basically it involves, and when you start getting into this now, it involves a lot of real estate, and especially a lot of U.S. real estate.
Oh, what a surprise.
Right. Being bought through shell companies at inflated prices. And we've talked about some of the situations with Trump properties doing some of the same thing. And when you do stuff like that, it invites an opportunity to launder some money, because that property in Beverly Hills may not actually be worth 10.8 million, and the last person that bought it paid 7.9, and the market didn't really go up all that much. But all of a sudden, here comes this somebody that has this brand new company that just started in 1999, but all of a sudden has all of this cash on them, flush with cash, mysterious backers, but they're shell company after shell company after shell company. And really, the IRS isn't very well equipped, neither is the tax code, to go after these things, right? So this happens. So here comes this guy who buys this place for an inflated amount, $3 million. And nobody's really sure where that extra $3 million came from. But that's how you launder money. A company that doesn't have any real background, there's a bunch of cash. Where'd that cash come from?
You remodel the house. So through the remodel, you spend more money and you're able to launder more money. It's if you want to launder money, there are a number of ways that you can do it and go undetected if you do it smartly for probably a very long time.
So in 2009, the Czech prime minister put 22 million into shell companies to buy a chateau. What prime minister has $22 million?
Right. Yeah.
And why?
Why is he putting $22 million into a shell company?
To buy a hilltop village. I read that right. To buy property. I'm sorry, to buy property, a chateau property. I apologize. Okay. Scrolling here. To buy a chateau property in a hilltop village in Moyenne, France, near Cannes. The investigation found the shell companies and the chateau were not disclosed in BC's required assets declarations, according to documents obtained by the journalist group's Czech partner, Investigation.cz. So again, this is
real estate group owned indirectly by Babas bought the Monaco company that owned the chateau.
So the Tony Blair thing was the same thing. So he all of a sudden has all of this liquidity to buy. Here it is, $8.8 million Victorian building, 2017, by buying a British Virgin Islands company that held the property. And the building now hosts the law firm of his wife, Cherie Blair, according to the investigation. Do you see how this is going? See how so there's like two economies going on here, essentially. And there is now this is confirmation of the dark money economy, that the all I see is Brooks beer. What?
I don't know what that means, but put it there.
I'm for it, to be honest with you. If somebody wants to, or you want to go come up with a beer recipe and say Brooks beer, I'm all for it.
That'd be great.
I went to the Van store the other day and designed a pair of sneakers with Topic Thunder on the back heels. I think I might buy them.
Yes, absolutely. We talk about, you've heard, like, Vito and I talk about this cabal, if you will, this secret cabal of people that are very powerful and are controlling literally everything that's going on in the world. And this type of information coming out is showing who it is and how they're doing it. And it's because they have incredible amounts of wealth. It is when you have wealth, you have power. That's just as simple as it comes. And they're using their wealth to increase their power all over the globe. And, like Ryan Hansen says here, how many people go into, how many Congress members or senators are significantly more wealthy than before they entered as a congressman or a senator. It's all happening right there in front of us. We just have to, we're just now, being kind of, for lack of a better term, woke to it and seeing who the real people are, who the players are. It's not the Skull and Bones Society at Yale. It's the mega wealthy business owners and dictators from across the world. Those are the people that are controlling everything that goes on, behind the scenes, pulling the strings, if you will.
So our good friends at Business Insider followed up on the story, and they had the findings of the documents, which will be rolled out in a series of stories over the next week, expose the secret offshore finances of about 36 world leaders, including the current former presidents, prime ministers, and heads of state. The finances of about 100 billionaires and people of extreme wealth are also included in the trove. Quote, many use shell companies to hold luxury items such as property and yachts, as well as incognito bank accounts. There was a somebody in one of the Twitter threads in the comment section had a really good quote. This is where all the missing hospitals went. This is where education went. This is the money that's not being taxed, that we're being squeezed on here in the middle class and in the lower classes, and even in the upper middle class.
That could be spent on childcare for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Shit that people really need so that they can go back to work and be productive members of society, for lack of a better term,
and have a better work-life balance.
Right.
The Business Insider, actually, the only site so far. Again, this is a bunch of information now that is kind of being strolled out across a week, apparently. But almost 3 terabytes of documents. Notably, the richest people in the United States: Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, are not in the documents.
Really?
Well, I'm sure they've got their own secret way to, or not, but I doubt it. Do we really think that Jeff Bezos is?
You have to assume that anyone with an extreme amount of wealth, you can't get that kind of wealth without socking some away here and there in an overseas account that here in Switzerland or in the Bahamas or wherever. You hire someone to find the loopholes so that you don't have to spend incredible amounts of money in taxes. I mean, you just don't become super wealthy without exploiting the loopholes. You can't.
And I already see there's a Bilderberg reference out in the chat rooms right now. And sure, do those people meet and get together and discuss blah blah blah? And sure, there's a Kubrick reference now too, in the sex parties. And anybody who's done any research about Bohemian Grove and some of the neat and fun things that go on when these fine folk get together.
Right, it's a retreat for fucking wealthy people.
And they're just probably talking about how to keep their wealth. And do weird things happen? Absolutely. Are there sex cults and odd things that we all know that we just talk about, all the missing women that, in the forest preserve that just last week over like the course of 20 years and whatnot? Is there some sex trade? Yes, we know that. We know that for a fact too. But to start tying these all together, I think at one point I was all for it. I thought, like, sure, Dick Cheney was just gonna pull his human face off, and there's Lizard Cheney, and swallowing rats and drinking blood and stuff. I think it's more simple than that, but it's also more evil than that. And it's just human beings at the highest level of greed operating against the interests of all of us.
Power corrupts human beings. It's just a flaw that we have in our makeup, right? When a human being gets power over other human beings, it changes them. It just changes who they are and how they interact and how they think. And it's a matter of, I talk about this, but if you own a business, it's a matter of, do you pay yourself what is fair, or do you pay yourself as much as you can get away with? Right. And that's what it feels like. There's the difference between the person that's like a thief and is trying to get as much as he can for himself because I'm in power. I built this business. I deserve, I took the risks, so therefore I'm going to pay myself as much as I humanly possibly can. It is a human nature flaw that we have, that once we have power over other human beings, we are very quick to then exploit that power to increase the amount of money that we can get over that other person, that which results in power.
And how do you end that? Well, there shouldn't be that extreme amount of wealth. Nobody should be sitting on $200 billion and just while people are starving and there's no clean water and there's droughts and forest fires, and just in our country.
You can't properly, I don't think a lot of people understand and can properly wrap their mind around how much $1 billion is. It's 999,999 millions is one. Then one more is a billion. So think about it. Jeff Bezos is worth $173 billion. That's a lot of millions. That's a fuckload of millions of dollars. Like what? That's hoarding the wealth it's you can't hear those numbers and not think something is out of whack here. It was I read another article recently that estimated that it was something like 356 times the CEOs and executives of corporations and big companies make somewhere in the neighborhood of like 356 times what the lowest paid employee gets paid. It's all part of it.
And that's the level of wealth that when we start talking about like taxing and the people that are getting hurt by this the most are the ones that react are like, you can't do that. They're gonna raise prices on my hamburger. They're gonna raise prices on my tires.
They've been raising prices on your hamburgers and tires for as long as we've been around. They've just been slowly doing it, and that didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's absurd. You're right, and it's people going against their own interests. It's fascinating to watch people do that and defend billionaires' money. You know, with this, and it's this weird idea that if you don't allow people to make as much money as humanly possible, if you capped people, well, then people would just stop innovating. People would stop creating. They would stop trying if it wasn't money motivated. If you didn't have the money to motivate you, why would you continue? And why would I want to limit myself? If I'm going to limit other people's money, why would I want to limit myself? It's like, because you're never going to be a billionaire. That's why. You and no one you know is likely to ever become a billionaire.
So let's maybe dive into this a little bit. So why has it been so easy, seemingly, to brainwash a large swath of people into voting and thinking against their own interests?
Well, yeah, because
that's what's happened.
Yeah, and it's a long process of this. It goes to this idea that people are kind of slotted in what they deserve to be paid, right? You hear people talk about, well, these people that work at McDonald's, they don't deserve to be paid $15 an hour. And it's like, according to who? According to the people that are paying is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, Aunt Chris is right. It's undereducated people. I think it speaks to our level of education as a society, that we are dumbed down, and it is beaten into us from a very early age. And remember, we talked about this before, where when we talk about the education in the big, where kids are being taught to be part of the system, right? You got to go to school to get a good job, to work for someone else, right? You got to be a part of the system. You got to go out there and you got to be part of the labor force. Like we've been pounding it into human beings from the very earliest ages that you get a job in fast food when you first get into the workforce, and that's just an entry-level job, and those jobs don't deserve to be paid a livable wage because you're not supposed to want to stay in that job. What? If you notice during the pandemic, those same people are the ones that were essential to society continuing to move along at whatever pace it did. Right? We sent those people out to the grocery store, the people that were bagging your groceries, or the people that were collecting your groceries that were getting delivered to your front door, and the delivery driver that delivered them to your front door. All those people got paid minimum wage, or maybe a little above minimum wage. But I can guarantee you this, none of them got paid a livable wage. None of them.
How about health insurance?
Any sort of benefits? No.
They're in the middle of a pandemic. Those people were bringing you your food so you could have a conversation with your friends later on going, whoa, we really made it through that pandemic. Man, it was tough.
But let's not, but at the same time, like, it says something about Americans that we went through that. Those people went out and worked and kept society going and allowed us to go get fast food, or go to Hobby Lobby, or go find something to do. The people that were working at Lowe's or Home Depot that allowed you to go find something to do around your house, but you could go buy the lumber that you needed at Lowe's. Those people went out and worked, and we still didn't look at them and go, they deserve to be paid more. Those people deserve to have a livable wage. Those jobs matter. Those jobs matter. And so why aren't we paying them like they matter? We bitch about the service that those people give off. But if you had to deal with people like they do on a daily basis for the amount of money that when you see your paycheck, what it is, you'd probably not give much of a fuck about your job either.
And that's the guy fixing your brakes.
Yes, that's the guy cooking your food.
When
That's the guy bagging your groceries.
Or cleaning that hospital room.
Right.
That your loved one's going to get into, and you assume everything's clean because that person that should be cleaning it should give a shit, right?
Right. But they put themselves in danger, and we didn't give a fuck about them. When it was all said and done, we all went back and went, well, and then the news started telling people, you got to see all the restaurant owners and the retail shop owners crying about, we can't hire anybody. No one wants to work for us. No, they don't. They don't want to work those jobs. People have, I've shared it a million times, but there's different memes. You can see it. We told people, if you don't like it, get a better job. And so they did. And now the next generation coming up, the young people that are supposed to take those jobs as their entry-level jobs into the workforce, they've figured out something else because they don't want to do those jobs. Those jobs are not attractive to the next generation of workers. You're not going to find a lot of young kids that are going to want to go into retail and fast food because they've got other hustles. They're on TikTok making money. They're flipping stuff on Facebook. They're doing something else to figure out how to not do those jobs.
Would you say that the youth of America, those kids, that they're bored?
I don't know that they're bored. I mean, they got a lot going on. They got hustles, but maybe they're a little bit bored.
That the pursuits of society as it's been presented to them have left them longing for a little bit more.
Sure, and disillusioned.
That somehow, like, they stare down a pandemic where the economy was stripped to bare, right? Essential workers, right? Especially with those first 4 weeks, right? Where those initial 2 weeks, right? We weren't sure if that Dunkin' Donuts was going to be open or it wasn't because, good luck, brew your own. Mm-hmm. We showed what was really important to kind of keep the wheels of society kind of greased and moving. And then we also showed the appreciation by treating those people like shit and arguing against their decision to go, you know what? I'm worth more than this. Regardless of what you think I'm worth, because you're a laborer, or you're an electrician or whatever, you make $48, $59 an hour. You've been in the union 20 years and you dedicated your life. And that's how you decided to have a family and feed them. Cool. But you decided that one person wasn't worth $15 an hour, but you're going to bemoan the economy and the fact that your life has been inconvenienced because those people said, yeah, man, I'm not worth $7.50 an hour. I can do these three things on my own, on my, like Ben said, on my hustle these three things that I'm working for myself and I'm putting my energy into something that's my own. I figured out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
It took some government stimulus, right? It took that padding, right, for people to kind of like, oh, I can do this and make money.
An opportunity was presented to them to say, this is your chance to try something else, to go completely left. This is your time to go to school go to a trade school online, get a certification in something online, do something different. And people did. And then they found side hustles. But to go back, how did we get here? How do we get convinced? It's because people have lost the sight of what wages are. Wages are the price you are willing to sell your labor for. It is not what the job pays. And and collectively, we're starting to get to a point where people are getting to a point where they're realizing that they have a worth. Then their worth, like you said, is more than what you're willing to pay. for the job that you are offering. And these employers are baffled by this because for a time immemorial, they have had the power. They've dictated what pay is because they had more people coming to them than they had jobs. And so when you have that, you then pick who's willing to do the job for the least that I think can do the job. That's who I'm going to hire. Well, the tables have turned, and in a lot of these jobs, they don't have that luxury anymore. They now have to become attractive. And these people don't have any idea how to do that. They don't know how to make their job more attractive to people because it's just always been a dictatorship where you're going to come to me and I'm going to pay you this because that's what this job pays, because I can get other people to pay to work this job for that pay. So this is what I'm going to pay you. We got to get back to this idea. We got to start teaching young people. I think a lot of young people are coming to this realization that wages are, you determine what you're worth. You determine what your labor is worth to you. Nobody else. And you can't, and you should not be manipulated by this, get out and work. You got to work hard. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do it this way.
That's the key thing, right? You have to fit my definition of what hard work is and what a job is.
Right.
And okay, I in the group chat with Lockport Joe, I sent you that picture of the meme of the guy that had a competing business. This is way back in the days of like the switchboard operators, right? Yeah. The switchboard operators, operator, who would you like to call? I'd like to call Ben Jordan at 619. One moment, please. And they'd patch you in to Ben Jordan at 619. So I guess some guy had a business and had a competitor. The competitor's wife was one of the switchboard operators. So whenever somebody would call, I need to speak to somebody about getting my shoes covered. 1 moment, please. I'm going to switch you over to Mr. Jordan at 619. And that was diverting the business, right, from one guy to her husband's, right? And that not very fair.
Right.
So what happened? The guy that was getting screwed developed the rotary phone and the automatic calling system that all you had to do was like punch in a series of numbers and you were automatically connected, thereby not only putting that dude's wife out of a job, but every call switcher out of a job. But it's a matter of the worth, right? We've been talking about what is your worth at labor and value. Jobs, we know, go away. There are no more people putting in number. Like I'm going to call, jobs disappear because technology, because advancements of society, things that we decide like that's no longer, all right, we're not going to do that anymore. So your jobs are no longer, we don't need coal anymore.
Right.
So instead of like leaving those people out high and dry, like we'll go figure it out. Why don't we give them a different education? Why don't we pay for their education at a community college in engineering or auto mechanic, whatever they want, whatever you want.
They fucking want, right?
Whatever you want.
Yeah. Choose anything. Yeah.
You want 2 years, 4 years, we'll pay for it. Just go.
And this wraps back around to put a bow on this and move on to the first story, which is we could pay for the education of everyone if we taxed people correctly and we closed the loopholes and people paid the taxes that they were supposed to. We wouldn't have to worry about how are we going to pay for things. We could end that argument because we could pay for things by properly taxing wealthy people.
Ben, we can't do it. It's the way it is. This is the way it's always been. We can't do that. We can't do that. Tell me a point where we've tried.
Right. You can, and we're at a point now where more and more people are getting on the idea of let's try something different. Let's try another way. So,
yeah, we know how the status quo and how that works and how to engineer that. We could try something different and not like terribly upset the apple cart. But we should. Yep. There's enough evidence that we've presented in this silly little podcast alone.
Yes.
Says.
Yep.
Speaking of trends and weird oddities that go on in the human brain. This was a follow-up story. This was actually sent by Tipped in Moscow again. The guy
that guy's on fire. He listens to the show. He doesn't participate in the conversation, but he's listening.
A silent partner, a dark night.
Yes.
Anyway, We talked about the poor lady, the 22-year-old that was murdered, Gabby Petito.
Mhm.
And now that from what I understand, I haven't been, pardon me, but I haven't been exactly following the story.
Yeah.
The guy's still on the lam, right? They haven't found this
So
dude,
yeah,
right?
even Dog the Bounty Hunter is looking for him.
Great. That guy's getting in on the grift. That guy, all that dog smells is money.
Oh,
Anyway,
100%. Yeah.
uh, this touches on the topics that, well, shoot, when Gigi sat in and educated us all on toxic masculinity, right?
Mhm.
This kind of piles on into that category, in that container.
Yeah.
Did
This is
you
the
know
greatest story.
there's a disturbing trend of online Brian laundry supporters?
What? How is that even possible?
So we just told you about the 22-year-old Gabby Petito. It was reported missing by her parents on September 11th. Updated on her. You all know the story. Apparently, there are people now kind of like, there's a group on Reddit, and I love my Reddit, but that's someplace that needs to be kind of trimmed up a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. Groups such as Our Friends of Brian have started to become more serious after initially having started as trolling. Online supporters of laundry have complained that Petito was instead the abuser, voicing complaints about women always being portrayed as victims in the media, the Independent reports. Now, I know, Ben, you like to sit in on a lot of right leaning groups and such like that,
Yes. Mhm.
just to kind of see what the opposition's saying and kind of educate yourself on their point of view, and you should be applauded for that. I sit in on a couple of just our men's rights on Reddit.
Yes. Those people are weird.
Just to kind of, again, it's important to get the temperature of the water, and no stranger of the show, I'll happily say it, the most dangerous people in America are white males, Christian white males. There's no doubt about that, and you kind of have to keep an eye on some of the ones
And
that maybe
the undercurrent, see what's hanging out in those groups, in the corners of those groups, and being allowed to fester in those groups is incels. That's the foundation of this type of rhetoric, this men's right rhetoric, and that's the basis, is where it starts, is these weird incel groups. And if you're not familiar, incels are basically involuntary celibate men. They're not voluntary. They're men that women won't fuck, and they're mad about it, and it festers and it grows in these types of men's groups a lot.
it's not only that too. It's a lot of divorcees. It's a lot of
That's another one. You're right. You're
men
right.
that have actually been abused. There are some legitimate, like, hey, the abuse of men isn't
Right.
talked about. We don't talk about near enough about the survivors of the Catholic Church. Like, think about it. There's a generationally old, 2,000-year-old organization that has habitually abused young men. We don't talk about that enough. There are
Right.
legitimate people voicing legitimate concerns, but this is all part of that whole loophole, that negative feedback cycle,
Yeah.
right? Because those people, unfortunately, that have been abused don't have proper resources, and society kind of shuns them to a certain extent for even reporting that they've been abused. And they reach out, and there's such little education and resource available to these poor young men, or maybe poor middle-aged or even old men, that they find our men's rights. And the biggest hero in that group is Johnny Depp, because they're always going back to how apparently Amber Heard popped Johnny Depp in the eye or something like that and abused him. And I'm not too much into that story enough, but that is the flag that they fly in that Reddit subreddit. And it's all about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Like, and why is anybody, why us? Why doesn't nobody talk about us? And they kind of victimize themselves in those threads.
Yeah. I can imagine. It's so weird to see that then manifesting itself into, them now defending this guy. Now, maybe they're right. You know what I mean? In this case, they could be right that she was the abuser, and they make some points that I don't know are totally valid, but they're at least worth a second thought of going, well, maybe, you know, but you're right. It's this weird mix of different people bringing different baggage to the group from different aspects of life and different reasons for being there. And then they're getting together and they're having conversations with each other. And like you say, it's this echo chamber of, this is how I feel. And they go, yeah, that's how I feel too. Oh, well, then if we both feel that way, we must be right. And everybody else must be wrong. That's where it gets into this weird cycle of ridiculousness.
Let's take another piece of thread, tie it around another thumbtack, and put it on the old cork board here. That there are these groups of people, and there are these online groups and communities, and we also know that there are online troll factories and groups of people. Let's just say that maybe at a state level that might be interested in inflaming these groups and pursuing the furthering of these lines of thought and feeling there too. So not only do we have an actual issue with men that don't know how to deal with their feelings of either rejection or loss in a proper manner and redirecting that in a different way, but we have agents of chaos that are pouring gasoline all over that situation gleefully to go ahead and, I don't know, get yourselves a mass shooter or get these guys into an organization that might, I don't know, have nefarious ideas for what society should look like according to them.
Maybe they're going to kidnap a sitting senator or something.
Or governor.
Right. Or governor, whatever.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to that later. Wink, wink, tease, tease, nudge, nudge. But like all right, I guess we really we don't want to bore you people.
I know where this is going, and that's a great joke. Nobody knows yet.
Thank you so much. And you know, here on Topic Thunder, we like to when we see a topic, we see an opportunity to kind of bore into a story to get to the core of it. This is from our friends at NPR. Packs of ravenous wild boars are ransacking Rome.
Jesus.
Like the Germans and Germanics of old, Rome has been invaded by Gauls, Visigoths, Vandals over the centuries, but the Eternal City is now grappling with the rampaging force of an entirely different sort. Rubbish-seeking wild boars.
God damn it.
Entire families of wild boars have become a daily sight in Rome as groups of 10 to 30 beasts, young and old, emerge from the vast parks surrounding the city to trot down traffic-clogged streets in search of food in Rome's notoriously overflowing rubbish bins. Posting wild boar videos on social media has become something of a sport as exasperated Romans capture the scavengers marching past their stores, strollers, and playgrounds.
Courtney does ask a good question. Are they radioactive super pigs? No, I think they're just regular wild boars. But
we'll have to relocate some of our resources to maybe find out, maybe get some blood tests from the wild. The Russia field office has been quiet lately, so I don't know if we actually still have resources there. Maybe they fell out of a window and choked, stabbed, and hung themselves all at the same time.
It's entirely possible.
Not only hey, we don't tusk around here on the show. As a fun look at this, look from the BBC, Shakira. Well, we all know Shakira. Actually, she was mentioned in the Pandora Papers, but the singer has been attacked by a pair of wild boars.
Wild boars. Like, what is going on?
The boars are pissed off, and they might need something to do. Hey. The Colombian singer said the animals attacked her before seizing her bag and retreating back into the woods. She shared her bizarre tale in a series of Instagram stories on Wednesday. Holding the now recovered but torn bag towards the camera, she said, "Look at the two wild boars attacked me in the park and I left my bag. They were taking my bag to the woods with my mobile phone in it." No, who says mobile phone these days? This isn't a real story. Oh, it is. It's the BBC. "They've destroyed everything," she said. I think it might be a little bit of hyperbole there, but poor Shakira got attacked by wild boars. This is terrible.
Wild boars are no joke. Like there's tons of wild boars out here in West Texas too. I've talked about it before. They're fucking huge, and like people hit them with their cars, and the cars are destroyed by these 400 and 500 pound wild hogs, wild boars.
Yeah, we're not talking about like cute little piglets. Like you're like, well, going,
no, like they have like notoriously super thick skin, right? So like I watch a show called Forged in Fire where they like people make weapons and swords and shit, right? And one of the kill tests they do is they use a boar carcass to show how how well does the knife or sword cut, and it's because boar skin and boar hide is notoriously very, very tough. They are no fucking jokes. Like the idea that they're taking over Rome or attacking people, like they're very aggressive towards people and they're very dangerous. Like a boar can fucking kill you, right? Like just to be perfectly clear, if you get attacked by a big fucking male boar, it'll likely kill you.
So when I visited the Badlands in South Dakota, and I broke off to see one of it was Wind Cave, and Wind Cave sits underneath this one of the last original prairies in the United States, home to bison. And if you're not familiar, bison are big motherfucking animals,
huge, yeah,
like 600-700 pound beasts that can run up to 40 miles an hour. Sometimes not even being in your car is safe because they've been known to like a smaller car, like a Mazda 3, maybe driving through, they could flip one.
Yeah.
Because their combined force is more than your car weighs.
Think about that. It's no joke. Yeah.
35 miles an hour times 600 pounds equals flipped Mazda 3.
Yeah. It's you. Yeah. You against a wild boar or a bison, you are losing.
Yes.
Pretty much every time.
It goes back to that poll we did last week about how humans think they could take a chimp. Right. Like 22%.
And more women than men think that they could beat a lion.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's find out. In Rome, the Colosseum, they've got it. The Colosseum's right there.
Behind. There's a television show. We talked about Game of Thrones. There's a show I could get behind if we just like televised matchups between like chimps and human beings and just to see what the fuck happened.
And now you're talking The Running Man.
Right, exactly.
Gillian. We're gonna jump ahead a bunch of stories because I think the conversation has been fantastic, but we kind of sat on a couple stories and rightfully so. But I wanted to talk about something really cool that we're about to do, and I love myself some space. And I think we've all at some point or another have marveled at the pictures that we've seen from space via the Hubble Space Telescope. The Hubble went up in 1990 or 91, I believe. Launched in 1990. And that's pretty old, especially with technology, right? Later this year, December 18, 2021, the James Webb Space Telescope, reportedly 100 times as powerful as the Hubble, will be launched into space. It's going to deploy about 1 million miles away from Earth, and we are expected to see the next generation of basically scans and pictures of space. Why is this important? Well, they've got a really cool picture that shows you the comparison. And keep scrolling. You're going to see the pillars of creation on the left. Everybody knows that picture. Mm-hmm. What you're looking at right there are probably the biggest shining pixels right there are galaxies. But those odd shapes are just streams of gas and dust and debris. That's a famous picture taken almost 30 years ago. What the new telescope will show us is what's behind what that picture cannot see. And that picture is on the right. That's what we're missing.
All these little stars here on the right is what we're missing. So this is
my friend. The photo on the left. I need to stop you right there because I want to make it very clear. Each one of those dots is not a star.
It's a galaxy.
Galaxy.
Holy shit. Wow. And that was we were not able to see that in the picture here on the left, which was the 30-year-old one from the Hubble telescope.
So the original 30 some odd years ago, and then the one on the right is they've made a bunch of different upgrades. Like Hubble's way outlasted its shelf life. It's lasted longer than your PS2 or 3 ever possibly could have, right? And because we've made several trips up there to upgrade, and so the right hand picture is an infrared scan of everything, which the James Webb telescope, like, infrared, please, I got that plenty. So that's the level of detail that we're able, and they're allegedly now this gets interesting and theoretical, but they might be able to see as far as the edge of the universe as we know it, which would be at some point the beginning of time, and some of the oldest known galaxies and the exoplanets. So this is the interesting thing too. The exoplanets around stars similar to ours, in similar, like what we call the Goldilocks zone, kind of where we are away from the sun, that allows for like liquid water and life, right? As far as we know it. This is the Goldilocks zone of life. So all kinds of really cool shit. Yeah, man. Biz, right on. Like, what else is out there? What else are we going to find out from this? This is
ignorant to believe we're the only planet that has life on it. That's look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back to look at this. Each one of these little dots is a fucking galaxy. You mean to tell me out of all that, we're the only planet with sentient life? I can't believe that. There's no way.
So yay technology, yay space, and we were talking about budgets and how much money goes to where. And this is stuff that like is important to us, not just like USA and these silly little borders that we love to wave the flag on and draw up and divide ourselves against. Like, this is for humanity. This is to understand where we came from, where this planet. We don't understand those things, and it's arrogant and hubris of us to think that, well, we got it figured out. One of the reasons we're all so crazy right now as a species is because we don't know where we came from. And you can coddle yourself in the blanket known as religion, but the hard truth of the matter is, if you really sit back and ask yourself, have an honest conversation, you don't know. We're all scared. None of us really know. We need to fund stuff like this that help us find out. People like Graham Hancock offering awesome, apparently very plausible theories. We need to investigate those things, as opposed to the hierarchy and the tradition going, nope.
Shunning it, yeah.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna come up on a commercial break here. But
no, actually, the folks at Delta, I'm sorry, I didn't communicate. This just reminded me, I didn't communicate this to you. So a little live action here. Delta 8 is working on a new promo package and asked us to not run the ad this week, but they will be back. They are still a sponsor. They're just working on some new advertisements.
Awesome. Sweet
Doing
deal.
great, though, by the way, Delta X, all reports I'm hearing back from the folks at Delta X8 is that business is a booming for Delta X8. So,
well, that's our sponsor, and just to throw some more laurels their way, they matched our collective donation to the Cajun Navy. We collectively brought in $280. He matched it. They matched it, and $560 went to the Cajun Navy. Thanks to our sponsor and the listening audience here on Topic Thunder. So don't ever think that a community of people can't make change in the world. We did. Speaking of making some change in the world, before then, we're going to show you a video. We're going to get to actually a real serious conversation here. I have found this video on the internet, and I thought I'd like to share it with everybody. The topic, the headline is "Clear Evidence We're in the End of Times."
All right, so let's see. I've got this up here. Let me get this. Share screen. Okay, so it's a 27-second video. So let's check this out. So it looks like we're in like a pawn shop of some sort, or a jewelry store. Man,
it appears to be some sort of holdup.
Gotcha. Let's see. Oh, this guy is holding a gun with his foot in a wheelchair. What? 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 What is going on? What? He's wearing a mask, by the way.
At least. Well, some of you other heathens out there.
What the fuck?
Look at him. Like, okay, now he means business.
What is going on? What? Look at that. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah.
He's cocking the gun. He's like changing hands, quote unquote. But they're his fucking feet.
He just, in the course of this
I would
video,
be scared of him. I don't know that I could be scared of him.
Right there, like that guy showed you, at the very least, he could get his other toe to the trigger. And he's clearly done this before in practice.
I feel like I could charge him, and he would have been very lucky to hit me.
Whack with the quote of the night. Clearly not an armed robbery. Put that one up there. Yes. Yes. That's why it takes a team.
Comment
That's why it
of the
takes
night
a village.
right there, by the way. Comment of the
It takes
night.
a village to write a show. All right. So we had ourselves a laugh. Unfortunately, the next couple of moments, probably, we're going to have to not so much laugh and have ourselves a real serious conversation, because we've talked about this epidemic at length at times on this show. And it's a cultural, it's a societal, it's an educational, it's an opportunity, it's an everything issue. It's an everything issue. This story came out this week from the New York Times. I'm just going to read you the headline, and we're going to get into it here, folks.
Yeah, this is maddening.
More than half of police killings are mislabeled, a new study says. Researchers comparing information from death certificates with data from organizations that track police killings in the United States identified a startling discrepancy. I've not seen this being covered, and maybe I'm not watching enough TV or on CNN.com enough. I've not seen this story being covered in very many places, and certainly not loud enough and not nearly
This definitely deserves more. I mean, just look at the first paragraph. Just read this first paragraph, Brooke. The first
police
couple
killings in America have been undercounted by more than half over the past 4 decades.
You got to just stop there. You got to stop there. We got to really soak this in. Let's police killings in America, which have been maybe one of the biggest dividing points in this country. Right? Easily on social media, it is one of the most divisive. You are one of two camps when it comes to police interaction with citizens. And here we have police killings in America have been undercounted by more than half.
For 4 decades. Let's not underscore that. Like the first number is an initial like big punch to the face. But that second big punch to the face is the 4 decades. And that's just probably as far as the data goes back.
Right.
So this was a study done by researchers at the University of Washington. It was published Thursday in the Lancet, a major British medical journal. Because here in America, it's just the nightly news. In other countries, people look at it and go, what the fuck is going on, and largely consider it a societal medical issue. The study conducted by the researchers amounts to one of the most comprehensive looks at the scope of police violence in America and the disproportionate impact on Black people. Researchers compared information from a federal database known as the National Vital Statistics System. That system collects death certificates with recent data from 3 organizations that track police killings through the news reports and public record requests. When extrapolating and modeling the data back decades, they identified a startling discrepancy. About 55% of fatal encounters with the police between 1980 and 2018 were listed as another cause of death.
Maddening.
55%.
Maddening, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about people that will argue, the same people that will argue that police don't disproportionately target Black and minority people, and when it comes to killings, those same people will say that COVID deaths are wrong because they're being reported incorrectly, right? That's a big arguing point for a lot of people, COVID people. The statistics are wrong. They're listing the cause of death incorrectly. This is way, way, way more important. The fact that 55% of fatal encounters with police were listed as another cause of death, that is an active cover-up. That there's no other way to see it, look at it, anything. What is that? This is why nobody trusts the police. Very few people trust the police because of this shit.
With a whole race of people that, now, first of all, have been ringing the alarm about this in every possible way they have known to man for decades.
For the same 40 years.
For the same 40 years. And you've brought up on the show before how the modern police force was born of slavery, just to track down slaves that were escaping. That's where our modern police force is. Sure, they had, I said the modern police force with guns and the ability to shoot and kill. Other police forces prior to that really didn't have that ability. They still don't in England. The bobbies aren't walking around with handguns and M16s like they are, and AR-15s like they are here. But let me. There's some more numbers in here.
Yeah.
Some more I want to throw out there. Okay. This was. I want to read a quote. His name is Dr. Christopher Murray. He's the director of the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington, which conducted the study. His quote: "You have to look at why those deaths are being picked up by the open source investigations, looking into the media and elsewhere, and aren't showing up in the official statistics. That does point to a system of medical examiners and incentives that may exist for them to not want to classify a death as related to police violence." So over the same period, right? Over the same period of time that they studied, which was 1980 to 2018. Listen to this. Nearly 31,000 Americans were killed by police. 31,000 Americans in that period of time killed by police.
Now, that doesn't mean that they were all unjustified killings, right? I don't want anybody to misconstrue it. I don't want anybody to think that's what it. But deserved or not, or deserved isn't the right word, but that's still a lot.
It's not a disclaimer, and I'm not saying this to be politically correct or anything. I like the police. The police have helped me in my life, whether it's because of the way I look or not. I've been helped by the police in good and bad situations. They've been there, and I support the police. I have friends that are police officers and ex-police officers that I support. That's an extremely dangerous job. You have to be a very special person to want to do it, which is why they should be held to a higher standard, in my opinion. So let's not mince words. We like police. We like good police here. And if you can't make that distinction, maybe you're watching the wrong podcast or whatnot, but there's a distinction that we make here between good and bad police.
Yeah.
So 31,000 Americans were killed in that time period, right?
The annual number of deaths in police custody has generally gone upward since 1980, even as crime has declined.
Of that, okay, and that's a terrible statistic too. So back to that 31,000, 17,000 of those go unaccounted in the official statistics. That's a half.
Are not being shown as having been death at the hands of a police officer.
Black Americans are 3.5 times more likely to be killed by police as white Americans.
But what about black on black crime?
We're not even talking about that. We're talking about police on civilian crime, right?
But is that not, ladies and gentlemen, the response that you see when anyone brings up a statistic like that? Anyone. The argument from the other side is always that It's always, well, what about the gang members that are killing each other? Why aren't people out marching against the black on black crime?
I had
Chicago.
I had an online argument with a police officer friend of mine that said almost the same thing. Well, you're not talking about the people that are being shot and killed. What about all the babies that aren't being killed by gang members and stuff like that? I'm like, as much I don't want anybody to be killed. First of all, let's get that out there. Nobody deserves to have their life terminated before they naturally go, whatever their circumstance tends to or needs to be. But the idea that bad guys are killing people is, not to sound like a joker, but it's kind of okay by society, right? Bad guys kill people.
Right.
It's the good guys killing people in a very specific sect of people at a rate 3.5 times more than others. The numbers don't work. The numbers don't jive out. We know that here, and at some point we have to be like, oh, we're preaching to the choir here, right?
Right. And by the way, just for the sake of full disclosure, Latinos and Native Americans also suffered higher rates of fatal police violence than white people did. So it's not just black people; it's minorities in general.
Right. It's a very good part of the article that I didn't mention, but yes, the data is there. It's not as stark, I guess, as a number, but yeah. And let's be honest, we know what we're talking about here. We all know what the elephant in the room is.
It's that, well, for me, the elephant in the room is that police officers, whether they're willing to admit it or not, the majority of police officers view specifically young black men as a higher threat to their safety than a young white man would be. Whether that's conscious, subconscious, whatever, it is clear that as almost kind of a general rule, or I don't know that it's being taught to them, but it's something that is bred into people, that black people and minorities are inherently more dangerous than white people. They are a more immediate threat to you. White people are given the benefit of the doubt where others are not. And that's the key here, is that there's a benefit of the doubt that is not being given to people, and then we're covering it up. If you don't see the problem here, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't see that defund the police is a real thing that we need to have real discussions about, I know the name of it sucks. I get it. I agree with you. Whoever came up with the fucking slogan, defund the police, to be the fucking hashtag and be the fucking words to describe what is really just police reform, law enforcement reform, better education, better training, that sort of thing. It's got a shitty name, but we have to do something. Something has to change here. We cannot keep going down this line. Society is going to just continue to fracture further and further apart. This is almost kind of the crack that feeds off to everything else. This disconnect between law enforcement and minority communities is the root of the problem that we have in this country, of a huge divide between urban and rural communities. It has to be addressed. We have to make real serious changes. We have to be serious about wanting police to do things differently. I mean, imagine police, law enforcement, until the internet, really, until social media, were able to do whatever they wanted with very little oversight. I mean, how many documentaries of botched police work are out there now from the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s, when technology wasn't what it was, communications between departments wasn't what it was. Law enforcement has been a shit show for a long time, and it is in desperate need of a major overhaul of reform. But there's a half of this country that won't even be willing to have the discussion because the name of the movement sucks balls.
Maybe there is a reason. Maybe there is. So here's a story from USA Today. And here's the headline. As I scroll up furiously, hack exposes law enforcement's office. Oh, let me try that again, folks. Hack exposes law enforcement officers who signed up to join anti-government oath keepers.
Oh, look at that.
So if you're, you should be no stranger to the show. Why would you be a stranger to the show? We've talked about the entanglements between law enforcement and several groups, such as the Oath Keepers, but also the KKK and the skinheads, repeatedly brought up these connections. And former and sometimes even current law enforcement officers stating, yeah, I signed up because I was told this was the next step in the plan.
Yeah, I guess that's a stopping point here to kind of reiterate for maybe someone that's not familiar. The FBI reported that they had witnesses, informants inside these far right-wing Nazi type groups where the leadership was telling them, grow your hair out, put your boots away, and sign up for law enforcement.
And again, built on the backs of what the idea of what the modern police force was for anyway, it seemed almost like a natural transition, right? You start diving into a bunch of different little sects, and then you start getting weird, right? Then you start getting into people who almost kind of want another civil war, another race war, because for some reason they think America is a white man's nation.
Dude, well, because there's a lot of people spouting off about this idea of replacement theory. That's a big one. This Tucker Carlson is one of the major ones leading the charge and giving a voice and giving a platform to this replacement theory that people have, that immigrants are being welcomed in by Democrats in order to replace white people. Democrats, liberals are actively bringing in minorities to diminish white people and white people's superiority in this country. It is a major fucking dog whistle to white supremacy. It is one of the foundations of white supremacy. It's one of their recruitment tactics, is to find disillusioned folks that are like, yeah, that immigrant took your job. Yeah, that's going to happen to everybody. And we have this group going back to the men's groups and the different groups that people are in. Yeah, well, man, I've got this other group over here that if you're feeling like immigrants took your job and you're feeling angry about it, I got this group over here that I'm a part of as well, that we all are angry about it. And we kind of vent ourselves this and we do this and we do that. And then sometimes they see openings. They see openings to sow chaos and to take people's eye off the ball and maybe blame others for what's going on, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, entered into evidence is one Ivan Harrison Hunter, 24, of Bourne, Texas, who this week pleaded guilty to a single count of rioting. The charge carries a maximum prison term of 5 years. The man, who had been part of a far-right group that wants to foment a civil war, admitted in federal court on Thursday he traveled to Minneapolis from the San Antonio area to sow chaos after the police murder of George Floyd. What this gentleman did, he admitted in federal court, pleading guilty to firing 13 rounds from an AK-47 style rifle into the 3rd Precinct Police Station on May 28th, 2020, as other rioters looted and set fire to the building after police evacuated. No one was struck by the gunfire. After the shooting in the building, Hunter was recorded on video high-fiving another person and yelling, "Justice for Floyd." Investigators matched the skull mask Hunter was wearing in the video to a photo on his Facebook page.
Son of a bit dumb motherfucker.
As his identity was revealed and correspondents found him belonging to several other Facebook groups, they found that the men had been part of the Boogaloo Boys, a group that exploits tension to exploit further violence. Now, we've talked about the Boogaloo Boys before, and I didn't know this. Do you know what the word boogaloo? Do you know what the key word there? Do you know what that means? You know the history behind that word?
I have read it before, but off the top of my head, I don't remember it.
It directly influences and references a second civil war, which it's a code word, boogaloo, for the next civil war, which they are trying to push.
Yep. And, but the Boogaloo Boys, of course, the first time we really heard of the Boogaloo Boys was when one of the members killed 2 federal officers outside the courthouse in San Francisco, I believe it was, a few years ago. And that case is actually back in the news because some of his co-conspirators were charged with some new charges when it came to that. But yes, the Boogaloo Boys are. I'm telling you, like, they're the group that, like, we hear about the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all those. There's a lot of posturing from those groups. The Boogaloo Boys, they're no fucking joke. But back to this motherfucker.
So prosecutors say,
yeah.
you mentioned this guy. In court documents, investigators say Hunter communicated with Stephen Carrillo, a California Boogaloo boy charged with killing a federal officer and a sheriff's deputy. And we covered this story too.
Yep.
This dude literally walked up to a car full, a couple of cops in it, and just opened fire through the windshield and killed 2 of them. Spray painted the words Boogaloo Boys on the hood and the trunk of the car. That's the type of extremism that we're talking about right here. The radicalization of these disenfranchised, largely white folk. This dude drove San Antonio to
That's
Minneapolis,
a 20+ hour drive, by the way,
with a car full of ammunition, apparently enough to fire off 16 rounds, for the express reason to misdirect the anger and hostility of the public for the riots to the people supporting those protesting the murder of George Floyd.
I'm telling you, Brooks, back when this happened, back when everything was happening, I said on my social media, I told everyone, I'm telling you, it was someone in the right wing. I still think that the guy, and I think it was proven already, right? We've already talked about the guy that smashed up the windows of the AutoZone, which is like the first thing that kind of set things off. He was proven to be a guy stoking fucking violence and looking as if he was Antifa or Black Lives Matter, but was really a right-wing guy that was trying to make those groups look bad. I called it then, and I had so many people from the right, so many anti-Antifa people that were like, no way. I mean, look, there was a video where he said justice for George Floyd. And I said, you guys don't understand. These groups, these far-right groups, they see an opportunity for the public to be turned against Black Lives Matter and turned against Antifa. And for a moment, for a while, it worked. Whether this guy got caught or not, what he did, what he wanted to do, worked. It worked. And a lot of people were fooled by it. But don't be fooled. The people on the far right is willing to do whatever it takes to continue to further push apart us all. They have there is no, let's find a common ground with these people. There is no common ground to be had with these people. And they will go to great lengths. They will drive 20+ hours and then shoot at a police precinct in order to look like they're part of the Black Lives Matter group, in order to discredit Black Lives Matter.
Think about that time out of your life. Think about the round trip. 48 hours, right? Give yourself enough time to rest, stop, sleep, maybe blah, 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 blah. You drove 48 hours round trip to fire off 16 rounds into a police station, turn around and say, justice for Floyd, to inflame another group of people, hopefully to stoke racial tensions. When we say these things are like interconnected, we mean it. Like, we've talked about the troll farms on the Facebook, and we've ad nauseum have talked about the influence of the internet in this situation. We've also mentioned the influence of somebody like Eric Prinz, who expertly knows how to mobilize the disenfranchised, expertly has hired people with a known and proven history, former spies, saboteurs, agents, provocateurs. And all they're looking for is a paycheck. They don't care if it's Czech or Ghanaians or Americans or Guams or Japanese. They don't care. They're just, all right, you want me to do what? You want me to show up at this education seminar and like start shouting all these things? All right, what's the pay? Cool. One more piece of evidence in that camp then. The people that were screaming bloodlust for BLM and Antifa really should have pumped the brakes then, and for sure should have some sort of reckoning with themselves now in light of all this information.
You were fooled, right?
It's okay.
You fell for it. And
it's okay. It's okay that you fell for it. People like me might be assholes online and want to poke the bear a little bit like that. And that's not getting us anywhere either. But it's okay that you fell for it. We need you to understand that you fell for it.
Right. That's just it. Like, you need to understand that you were fooled and that what you thought you saw wasn't what you thought you saw. And so it should change everything you think about Black Lives Matter as an organization. It really should. But no, they'll focus on the black people running out of the Nike store with all the shoes.
And just supporting an era that divides us all.
Right.
And you're falling into the trap there again.
And again, guys, this is another piece of evidence that there is no middle ground. There is no finding common ground with the far right. There just isn't, because they are out for their own purposes, and they will not be deterred, and they'll go to extremes to get the results that they want. It isn't over. It isn't nearly over.
It's not. Unfortunately, this is a bigger issue than even we're making it out to be, and we talk about probably too much here.
Nope.
Maybe, I don't know. But I know why everybody's here. I'm no stranger to this game. I know what this is. I know what this relationship is. You're here for the lightning round, and we're gonna give it to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you made it this far, let's go over the rules one more time. The lightning round. I read 3 headlines. You, the voting audience, the lively Thunderdome chat room, decide which of the 3 stories that enter the Thunderdome survive. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, you're on headline number 1. Drunk man who was reported missing ends up joining search party to find himself. And I'm so thrilled to see all the lightning bolts in the chat room. That's so cool, guys. I love it. I love it. It from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Headline number 2. Speedo Mick was thrown out of a Cornwall pub for breaking the dress code. And headline number 3. A ninja with a sword assailed the U.S. Army Special Operations Unit in California.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm going to read those all again for you. That's what I like to do here, as we give you time to deliberate furiously in your mind what story you want to hear. Welcome to the lightning round. Headline number 1. A drunk man who was reported missing ends up joining a search party to find himself.
That's pretty good.
Headline number 2. Speedo Mick was thrown out of a Cornwall pub for breaking the dress code. And headline number 3. A ninja with a sword assailed a U.S. Special Operations Unit in California.
How do you not pick that one, ladies and gentlemen? It has to be number 3. How do you not want to know how a guy dressed up as a ninja with a sword snuck up on a special operations unit of the United States military? Come on. But it looks like everybody really wants to see this Hear from
hide and seek
the drunk.
Wow!
the drunk
Did you see
dog
that?
about-
Do you see that message right there? It says we've received. I've never seen that before. We've received 100 messages today via the Restream chat. That's the first time I've seen that.
Man,
All right. It's pretty cool. So the cool thing about the software, we pull messages from all of our different streaming, so Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. We hit 100 messages. Oh, they really want to. They really want to know.
Everyone's going for the number one. I'm stunned by this. I am stunned that the ninja attacking a special operations unit did not get more votes. But I am subjecting myself to the Thunderdome. Ninja versus California. It's getting close, though. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 votes for number one. We have 3 votes, including mine, for the ninja story. I agree, Aunt Chris. Come on, guys. We got more. We need more votes for the fucking ninja.
I don't know. Come on.
All right. I mean, at this point, we have to close voting, and I have to say, the ninja story loses. This is maybe the most shocking result in the history of the lightning round, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. So we're going to listen to the people. That's what we do here. We listen to the people on Topic Thunder. And I sent Ben the link. So that story is coming to you. Headline from IndiaTimes.com. Drunk man who was reported missing ends up joining a search party to find himself. It simply won't get any weirder than this. A 50-year-old man in Turkey who was reported missing revealed himself to be part of the rescue party looking for him. Bahain Mutulu had been reported missing to authorities by friends in a rural neighborhood near the Turkish city of Enigol. His friends said that they had gone drinking before Mutulu ended up wandering off drunkenly into the surrounding woodlands and didn't return. As authorities initiated a search and rescue mission, locals also joined the hunt as word of the situation spread. Initially, the search was centered on the forest area where the man was last seen, and that was unproductive. However, things soon took a hilarious turn. After some time searching, members of the search party began calling out for the man and shouting his name loudly in the hopes that they'd hear him and respond. That was one man within the group stepped forward and said, "Who are we looking for? I'm right here." Yes, you read that right. The man himself joined the search party for himself. The media outlet shared a photo of the man and rescued members. The teams prepared to report about the search and left the missing person at his home, the tweet added. But it's still a mystery is the fact that how the intoxicated man even managed to regroup with the party, and even more incredibly, how his own friends failed to notice him. That was a good party.
Right?
In the end, the man was transported back to his home and family safely. There is no ordinary incident and will probably remain one of the weirdest missing person incidents to have been dealt with by the local authorities. I mean, you have to kind of move, don't you, at that point?
Yeah. Yeah. That's unbelievable. I'm still in shock. I'm in shock.
It's okay.
That we didn't read about
it. It's going to be okay. Maybe we'll cycle that one back in there. Maybe we'll bring it back somehow.
It has to. I feel like, you know, how I watch cooking competition shows and they bring back people that just missed, got to the final round, and there's like a redemption episode. That story needs to go in the redemption. We need to have a redemption one.
Okay. All right, we're gonna work on that here on Topic Thunder, and that's what you've been watching this last hour plus. So we thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to have this conversation. The chat room was awesome today. Thank you, Ben, for your time. Thank you, everybody. You've been watching Topic Thunder, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. Holy smokes, Topic Thunder podcast on Instagram. Ben, we're missing out on the Trailer Boys here. We need some stuff. Hi, Topic Thunder. Rapapa. Good night, all.